There was a time that cut lit you up. It knew your angles, lifted your cheekbones, framed your smile without trying too hard. Now, it just hangs. No offense to the stylist, it's not about skill. It's about time. Flattering haircuts for women over 60 don't need to chase anything new. What they do need is to remember how your face used to catch the light and bring that ease back. Some shapes echo the cheekbones we once thought were too high. Some reopen the space between our brows and our eyes, like we're inviting the world in again. And others, they make the kind of quiet entrance that says, she still knows. These cuts aren't trendy, they're tuned. To bone structure, to texture, to the years that softened us, but didn't blur us. If one of these feels like it was made for the woman you've become, tell me which. Or better yet, tell me which one reminds you of the woman you were. We'll start with a shape that doesn't speak loudly, but you'll notice what happens when it meets the cheek. You remember the old bob, the blunt one, heavy in the back, tucked under the jaw like a helmet. Everyone had it in some version. It worked back then, mostly because it said polished, without needing much else. But now, that weight pulls everything down. The jawline, the mood, even your posture shifts ever so slightly. This version, the soft angled bob, rewrites that shape without erasing its charm. The cut rises subtly at the back, curving just enough to pull the eye up toward the cheekbone, not under it. In front, the line falls forward with intention, grazing the collarbone in a way that feels elegant but never severe. The magic? It skips bulk entirely. Instead of creating a boxy frame, it suggests structure, letting your natural face shape do the talking. If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, where did my cheeks go? This is the one that brings them back without drawing arrows, and it's not stiff. It moves. The kind of cut you run your hands through at a red light, and it falls back exactly where it should. One client said, "It's like my old bob got a college degree and learned manners." Another just smiled and said, "This made me look awake. I didn't change my makeup, just the shape." And here's the quiet win. It grows in gracefully. No sharp step at the nape. No weird curl under. Even 3 months later, it still knows what it's doing. Catch it from the side. That arc at the back lifts just enough to lighten the whole silhouette. It doesn't scream for attention. It just whispers. She knows what flatters her now. But maybe you want something that feels a little more sculpted, that hugs the face, not just lifts it. That one's next. Not everything needs a lift. Sometimes what we crave quietly is softness. A shape that doesn't demand attention, but gently returns it to the parts of us we still like to show. You know that moment when you tuck your hair behind your ear and catch yourself in the mirror, and suddenly it all looks too square? It's not you. It's the cut pressing inward, collapsing what should feel open. That's where tapered layers come in. They don't cling. They follow, lightly, deliberately, never dragging the face down. These layers start close near the temples, then taper just past the chin, creating space around the cheeks while still shaping the silhouette. No sudden shelf, no heavy curve under the jaw. Just a quiet gradient that slims and frames without closing you in. If you've ever had a stylist say, "Let's add volume," but you walked out looking puffed up instead of polished, this one's your counter-argument, and it feels gracious, like the kind of cut you'd wear on a lunch date where you don't want to look done up, just noticed. A woman I worked with recently said, "I thought I needed bangs. Turns out I just needed the rest of it to stop crowding my face. She wasn't wrong. It moves differently depending on the day. Tucked back, brushed forward, let loose to air dry, and somehow still flatters. Even fine hair builds its own structure with this one. It's not about thickness, it's about fall. Let it catch the breeze when you open the car window just slightly. Let it skim the cheek, not cling to it. And if this still feels a little too refined, you might be ready for something with less shape, but more motion. Once upon a time, bangs were thick, heavy, set like armor across the forehead, locked in with a final spritz of Aquanet. And the idea was clear. Cover the lines, hide the forehead, keep it all controlled. But here's what we learned. That kind of control ages us faster than the lines ever did. Wispy bangs are the antidote. They don't cover, they soften. They don't demand attention, they redirect it. This kind of fringe works more like a sheer curtain. It filters light gently over the forehead, draws attention back to the eyes, and gives the entire face a lift. Not through volume, but through suggestion. The bangs are cut with space between, air intentionally left in. They taper softly to the sides, echoing cheek curves and easing into the rest of the style instead of stopping it cold. And it's not just about the visual effect. It's about how it moves. When you walk, when you tilt your head, when you laugh, it shifts with you, not against you. One woman told me, "It makes me feel like my face is framed, but still mine, like I didn't have to hide behind anything." And let's talk about aging eyes. We all see it. Lids softening, brows lowering, that slight distance between brow and lash shrinking over time. Wispy bangs bring the light act up top. They lift the whole upper half without one touch of makeup. Even better, they're forgiving. Grow them out and they become soft side pieces. Miss a trim and they still fall with grace. You don't need a flat iron. You don't need product. You just need a breeze and a little tilt of the chin. But if you're craving something that lets the whole cut dance a little, not just the bangs, you're going to love what's next. Sometimes we wear a cut so long we stop noticing how it makes us feel. Not because it's bad, just because it's expected, familiar, safe. But there's something about seeing your reflection move again. Not just your body, but your hair, that wakes something up. The Midi Shag with air doesn't just flatter. It reminds your face that it's allowed to shift, to sway, to breathe. This isn't the shag from the 70s. No choppy chaos, no feathered helmet. This version lands just at the collarbone, layered with care and air, not attitude. Each piece is cut to catch movement, soft bends around the temples, lifting ends near the collar, delicate texture at the back that never looks stiff or set. If you've ever felt like your haircut made your jawline look sharper than you meant it to, this one pulls everything back into flow, and there's something freeing about it. One client, a retired architect, ran her fingers through it in the mirror and whispered, "I didn't realize how heavy it all felt until it was gone." The shape floats, literally. No thick undercut, no overlayering, just the right balance between lightness and presence. It works with silver, with waves, with aging texture that no longer wants to obey and shouldn't have to. And here's the part that surprised even me. It doesn't need styling, not really. A scrunch, a brush, a walk outside. It finds its shape on its own. And in soft daylight, the kind that comes through old curtains at 3 p.m. It looks luminous, not glossy, not styled, just like you're back in frame again. But if you're craving something even simpler, something that resets everything with one elegant shift, you might already be thinking of the final one. This is the cut most women skip. Too subtle, too familiar, too close to the way we've always fixed our hair, not how we wear it. But that's the secret. The side-swept reset doesn't scream transformation. It just shifts everything, slightly, and suddenly it all feels new. It's not even a cut, really. It's a direction. One side tucked gently behind the ear, the other falling at a soft diagonal across the forehead, curving toward the cheek like it belongs there, like it always did. And yet, most of us were taught to center everything. A clean part down the middle, equal on both sides, balanced to the point of boredom. It's asymmetry with intention. It opens one side of the face, lifts the opposite brow, and gives the jawline a softened edge, almost like your features are leaning into the light. It works with short cuts, long layers, grown-out lobs. It even rescues that in-between length we all dread after a big chop. And the styling? There isn't any. Just part it with your fingers while your hair's still damp. Or push it over dry. No comb needed. One woman told me she did it by accident after a walk in the wind. She looked in the mirror and said, "I looked refreshed. I looked like I just made a decision." It's not trendy, but it's modern. Not edgy, but elegant. It resets your whole energy without one dramatic snip. And it pairs beautifully with silver, especially when the front sweeps just enough to catch that shimmer above the brow. It doesn't hide anything. It redirects. It elevates. So now you've seen 5. And maybe you're not where you started. These weren't just haircuts. They were quiet shifts in shape that gave something back, lift, light, maybe even a little defiance. Not to look younger, but to feel more you again. Not the you from 20 years ago. The one who knows exactly what works now. If one of these styles stopped you mid-scroll, if something about it made your hand go to your own hair, tell me, which one and why? And next time, we're going into the cuts that grow out beautifully. Because no one should be punished for skipping a trim. Until then, just remember, you don't need a new identity. You just need a shape that knows how to honor the one you've grown into.